Hi, my name is Julie Golding, and I'm going to be presenting on using informational and narrative text in content areas, which will be science, social studies, and math. So, the importance of using both informational and narrative text when teaching cross-curricular subjects is that it helps students in a variety of ways. It engages students by creating authentic literacy tasks. It helps them see what they are learning about in a variety of different texts. It exposes them to different types of text, and they can learn literacy skills by, analyzing the difference between narrative and informational texts. And it helps students see information in real-world contexts. All right, so first, let's see how we can integrate literacy into content courses. So first, we're going to look at science and the Common Core Focus Standard for 6th grade. So middle school is the age range that I'll be focusing on, is to identify questions that can be answered through scientific method and design and conduct scientific investigation. So let's look at a narrative and informational text related to these standards. So the narrative text that I chose for this piece is called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. This is based off of a true story, but a fiction narrative text. It is about a young adult who is from an African village who took his creativity and scientific investigation to a whole new level to provide a solution to the community that he lived in. This is a great example to students to learn about students that are their same age and from different places all around the world. They can learn about young adults and their example to apply scientific inquiry, and they see how science comes to life through this narrative text. So on a similar topic, this next text is an informational text. It's a news article by CNN. It talks about the boy that was earlier discussed in the narrative text. So this boy is from an African country, and this article was written by Faith Karimi. Now, students see that this young boy was actually a real person, and this confirms all the more that students read real-life accounts through news articles, and they see the connection between science and everyday life. This is an example for students to see multiple texts on the same topic, and they can discuss and see the differences of the difference between a narrative and informational piece. The strategy that I want to discuss here is based off of the Common Core standard to do investigation and scientific inquiry. Now, this really is related to many of the science Common Core standards, but specifically science inquiry and finding a question that students can take and do a research project about. And they could do their project related to the topics brought up here in the story that they learned about. And this would be a connection between the Common Core standard, their text of which they've been reading and investigating about, and then now they are going to take what they're learning and investigate themselves. And this would be a great strategy and project for students to do. So math is the next content area that we'll discuss, and the Common Core standard I'm going to take a look at for 6th grade is about algebra, read, write, and evaluate expressions in which letters stand for numbers. So the first text is the narrative text Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This is a great way to make connections to algebra in real-world settings, and students can see the connection between numbers and life application. A strategy that can be used is for students to conduct activities related to topics and themes from the book. There are a few strategies and activities that teachers previously have designed to go along with this book, and there are some specific activities that are on Teachers Pay Teachers, which is a popular site where teachers can gain access to free material and sometimes pay for them. We have a teacher that offers some information on some algebra problems and activities that students can engage in based off of themes in the book. For the informational text for this math standard is a news article from Newsela, which is a great online resource for students and teachers to utilize to find hundreds of different news articles related to STEM topics, art, social studies, etc. The article is called Math Class Makeover Encourages a More Positive Approach to Learning. This article points out topics related to algebra and math, and students can see how learning in math relate in real-world scenarios. A strategy that can be followed up with this reading is to do the post-reading activities, which include a brief quiz and answering short answer response questions. And the teacher can check that as students' accounts are linked to the teachers. So the last topic content area for this presentation is on social studies texts, and the Common Core standard I'm focusing in on is for 6th grade. The focus is on regions and people of the Eastern Hemisphere. So specifically somewhere in Africa, Asia, Australia, and Europe, focusing on geographic features, early history, cultural development, and economic change. Students can learn about the development of river civilizations in Africa and Asia, including their government, cultures, and economic systems. The geographic focus include the study of contemporary regional characteristics, the movement of people, products and ideas, and cultural diversity. So the narrative text for social studies is this book called Amal Unbound by Aisha Saeed. Students will read a narrative account of a young woman from an eastern part of the world, Pakistan, and her journey. This text is culturally diverse literature. Students can learn about some cultural differences that they see from their own, and this book brings up political and economic effects on this character, and they see that the literacy strategy recommended for this book is that students can write a letter to the character in this book using skills that they have learned previously or can learn through doing this activity. Another way this activity can be completed is that each student is a character from the book, or a few students become different characters, and each student can write letters to one another in the perspective of their character. This is a good way for students to develop empathy, engaging social and emotional learning, and also ties in culturally responsive teaching, literacy, reading, writing, and social studies. The informational text for social studies is 3 Cups of Tea. This is a nonfiction account of someone who gives information about Pakistan's culture and the struggles young women face. Now, this is a nonfiction, like I said, and inspiring story of someone who just really raised a lot of money and did a lot of work in the culture. A strategy that can be applied to students reading this text that can be paired as they read it and can be done in their journals or as a separate activity is that they can complete a map of the geographic locations that are mentioned within this text. And this is, again, going back to that Common Core standard about seeing the geographical locations of places in the Eastern Hemisphere. So the importance of including instructional practices and texts in the content areas that are culturally responsive and encourage diverse students to connect with content areas and apply literacy skills is that cultural responsiveness means that teachers understand their students' backgrounds. When teachers understand that not all classes are going to be the same, they are responding to their learners' needs and helping them through ways that are relevant and applicable to their lives. Every time a teacher encounters a new classroom or new students, the teacher really needs to know how to differentiate and be responsive to things in informational text and narrative text that will help the learner understand the content material better. So listed below are three resources that teachers can use to help them find culturally responsive pieces of information in their classrooms. Let's look at this video for the first one. So one helpful tool that can be used is through our Columbus City's Metropolitan Library system online. This can be used as a digital way to look up many pieces of information. If you go to the main menu into research, under homework tools, there are many free websites that are offered if you have a library card, which is also free to get. This offers tons of topics and educational sources for information that can be viewed. Teachers can use this as a way to support their students in research projects and various other means for students getting information. All of these you can choose to visit the site and simply log in with your library card. Two other great resources I like using are called Color in Colorado and tolerance.org. Both list a lot of relevant resources, up to date, and a lot of teacher accounts that will be useful in this topic.